On today's show, we have someone who has come back from Walt Disney World, and they have a report that's coming up on Traveling with the Mouse. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 353. I am your host. My name is John, and I am joined, as always, by Adam.
Boo. What's up, everybody?
And that's it.
Yes.
Yeah. Just here at the top of the show, just kind of let you guys know, Jason's going to step away from the podcast for a little bit. No real calls for alarm or anything. No bad health or anything like that. He just needs a break, basically, so he can deal with some things. Hopefully he'll be back. I guess that's the best way to put it, right? I mean,
yeah. We wish him the best, and hopefully he'll be back.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's back to the way it all started.
the olden times.
Yes, just two guys.
Just the two of us.
So, I guess.
Yeah.
Although, you know what? I should have really considered seeing if James was available to join us, but I didn't tonight. Maybe I'll do it for next week.
Yeah, I mean, this is mostly my trip report, so.
Yeah, mostly your trip report. So he might not have. I mean, he could have interjected a little bit.
He could have, yeah. Especially talking about the Polynesian. Maybe we'll make that. I'll talk about it, and maybe we'll make that a segment for the three of us to kind of talk about the Polynesian a little bit.
Yeah.
Again.
Well, the Polynesian, what you mean, like in the good old days, the way it used to be, or
just in general,
the bleak future.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a whole thing about the Polynesian, past, present, and future.
Poly Tower.
Right.
Everybody has a tower now.
Poly Tower.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it. All right, so it started in like, 09, 07 or whatever, Bay Lake Tower. We got a tower over there.
That was 09, yeah.
And so we have a tower, Gran Destino Tower. We have that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, technically Caribbean Beach has a tower called Riviera.
Right. Sure. But Riviera's, got a tower. Yep.
And then there's, I guess, the Swan Reserve. I don't know.
Exactly.
Of course, that's just the next finger toward Michael Eisner.
Right. Another middle finger? Three middle fingers?
I guess
How's
three.
that possible?
It's an alien species that's doing it.
Indeed.
So, as I said, we're going to do things a little different this week because we're going to do the trip report. And if we have time at the end, we're going to discuss a couple of things.
Yeah.
But if not, after, because trip reports can get kind of long.
They can.
So, we're going to start with that. So, Adam, you are the person who went.
I did.
Just, not to spoil any surprises.
Just me and my family. This was, I wouldn't say a last-minute trip, but it wasn't a planned-out kind of, let's go because of this. It was like, hey, we have some time off. Let's just do it because it's been a long year, as we've already established.
Just go, man.
My mom passed away early this year. I've mentioned that on the show. So we just needed a break. And where else would I have wanted to go to get away than Disney World? I mean,
exactly.
I hadn't been since, the very end of the year. Actually, I spent New Year's at Disney, so
it's like 3 months?
Yeah. So I was getting the...
That's such a long time.
Withdrawals, yeah. So I had to go. And honestly, too, the news and everything has not made it, super enthusiastic about Disney lately, all the things.
Not particularly. It's not been a positive news cycle for the most part.
So I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it, honestly, going back and with a heavy heart, so to speak, as well. So how would it go? And just to cut to the chase on that one, I had a great time. It was awesome. It was wonderful to be back. I had a very relaxing time. The kids melt down here and there. That's just par for the course with Disney. It's going to happen. But overall, wonderful trip, and we enjoyed it. We stayed at Gran Destino 3 nights over Easter weekend. Spent a lot of time at different lounges. So that was what I did for enjoyment.
Different lounges.
Yeah, I'll go into that a little bit. And spent a lot of time at the Polynesian because that's where... a lot of memories are for us and growing
Disney
up.
roots.
Exactly. And that's what I meant the early part of the show. Maybe we dig into that a little bit more because Literally, as soon as we got there, we unloaded the car and went straight to the Polynesian. That's how the trip started.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You're staying at Gran Destino, but you're like, you know what? We're just going to drop the luggage off and go to another resort.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
We're just laying our heads here.
The reason why was I think we arrived around 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m., somewhere in there, and Magic Kingdom was open until 11. So obviously the kids been in the car all day. They want to go do something. They weren't tired. We just got there, so they were excited. They wanted to go do something. So we're like, okay, here's the plan. I want to hang out at Polynesian a little bit. The fireworks are going to start, soon. So the idea was, let's go to Polynesian. Let's hang out at Trader Sam's, Tiki Terrace, mobile order us some Captain Cook's, and enjoy the fireworks from there. And then we'll go over to Magic Kingdom after the fireworks crowd kind of starts leaving. We go in and we'll do a few things without too long wait or anything. We got to the Trader Sam's. We did the food. I love Captain Cook's as always, and Trader Sam's is awesome too.
What'd you get this time?
The pork nachos, the pulled pork nachos, always. And also the Thai coconut meatballs are also a favorite.
Yeah.
And I think I got something else for the kids, but something like mac and cheese or something for them, but gotcha. That's what I enjoyed. Anyway, the drinks also really good, of course, chilling, loving it. But then it starts raining, and then it starts raining harder, and then it starts raining even harder. And so we're sitting outside under an umbrella, and it was fine for a few minutes, and then it starts raining harder and harder, and then lightning, and then our server runs out and says, when there's lightning in the area, I have to close out all the tabs. So, you had to run in and out of the rain to close out our ticket. And so then we're just kind of stuck there like, well, we can't order anything else. We're starting to get wet now because it's just pouring rain. I look at the weather on my phone, like the radar, and it's one of those where the thunderstorm starts developing on top of you kind of storms. If you're familiar with how thunderstorms in the South work, sometimes,
especially Central Florida.
Exactly. But mostly Florida storms are those that just sort of just keep developing and they just sit on top of you. They just like continue getting worse and worse and worse. Whereas I think where we are, a lot of them move from like east to west or in a north-south, south-north kind of. It's easier to track. Whereas Florida, it's like sometimes you can't, you have no clue what it's going to do because I keep looking like, I think it'll lighten up. And then the next radar is like, okay, it just got way bigger. Never mind. It's not moving. So we just had to run back inside. We hung out in the lobby for a little bit, but then it's just like, all right, forget it. It was at, I think, almost 10 o'clock at that point. So we're like, forget it. What's the point of going to Magic Kingdom now? And it was still raining. It was just lighter rain. So end of night one, kind of. But I will say, being back at Polynesian it's just really nice. I think I'm going to have to get back there, whether it's doing what James does and do those rentals or something.
Yeah.
It's just nice to be there. It's such a great resort to hang out at.
It's not just doing the points. It's he does them in the off season too. Yeah. They're cheaper.
Right. Good. Yeah. I'm just going to have to do that one of these days soon just because it's so nice to be there. Of course, memories come back to you from being a kid and coming there, and of course, thinking about my mom. So, and after it was raining, we didn't just go straight to bed. We went to the Dahlia Lounge.
Yeah, first lounge that you mentioned of the lounges.
Actually, technically, it's second lounge because we did Trader Sam's Tiki Terrace, which I guess that's similar. So a terrace, then a lounge. But yes, Dahlia Lounge.
That's right. You're really saying bars.
Yeah. Well, okay. Shut up. But it's a lounge. But just to say, Dahlia Lounge was awesome as always. It is a great place to be, and drinks are amazing there. I don't normally like a gin cocktail. I'm not much of a gin and tonic kind of guy, but the signature gin and tonic at Dahlia Lounge is superb. It's awesome. It's fantastic. So, and they have good food there. Everything's good. So, and of course, my wife was telling everybody that would listen And well, actually, I did. I was telling everybody, but she was, telling everybody too that her name, trying to see if they would give her a free drink or something, but nobody ever did. But
Yeah.
anyway,
It's like, I own this lounge.
exactly right. So anyway,
I am this lounge.
yes, day 2 ended up being Epcot day. We almost made rope, but Epcot opened at 8:30 that day for the resort guests.
It's getting earlier and earlier.
Yeah. So we thought, okay, let's not worry about trying to make rope for one, because my 4-year-old we had to activate his pass, like his renewal pass, because, you can't just renew a pass and it work. You have to stop and have it activated every time. So I think Jason talked about that on his, back in March, where he had to renew. He had to go activate before he could get in the park, so I knew that's what we had to do first. So we went in there and did that. We activated his pass. While we were there, we got our new cards because they, never sent us any, so we got new cards. I bought one of those gift cards for the Flower and Garden Festival, so we could use that later. So got all that stuff out of the way. And looked around, Test Track was already an hour. Frozen was like 35 minutes. So I was like, let's go head towards Soarin'. My 4-year-old's tall enough to do all these things now. So we walked into the land pavilion and it was like nobody there. Very few people. Like, okay, this is looking good. We walked down, walked in the line for Soarin'. I think it said 15 minutes. But we literally walked straight to the pre-show area. Never stopped. Nice. We walked straight there. We were in the middle, which was great. So we saw the straight Eiffel Tower. Walked straight on that. And then the land, we just decided, let's just do that too. Walked straight onto the land. Did that. And then we sort of like, okay, we need to eat. So we didn't eat at Sunshine, unfortunately, because I wasn't sure if the festival booths were open or not. The outdoor kitchens, I should say. We keep saying booths. They're not open until 11. So we sort of ventured out and just found some food carts that were open and got some stuff to hold us over. I think the Joffrey's cart we went to. But then we rope dropped Cider House, which I think I told you guys.
Cider House rules.
Exactly. The rules were it opened at 10:53, not at 11. So
that's cool.
So we got that one a little early. We were first in line there. We saw that they had already set it up, so we're like, hey, you guys open? They're like, yeah. All right, come on in. So we did.
Pick them up.
So we really enjoyed the Flower and Garden Festival. We did the Easter egg hunt thing with the kids, and honestly, I got to say the prize is better this year than last year. It's like a little, almost like Tupperware, but it's like for kids, so they could either put food in it if they have lunchbox stuff, or they could put toys or whatever in it. It's like a little storage container thing with like the orange bird. Who else is on it? Figment, Mickey, or I forgot who the other one was. One of my kids picked the orange bird, and the other one picked Figment.
So who picked Figment?
My 4-year-old picked Figment.
Ah.
Yeah. I didn't even know who Figment was. He was like, the purple one.
You were like,
yeah.
And you're like, I don't even know who you are anymore. Oh,
nah. I still like Figment. I just don't care for the ride.
Oh.
In its current form.
Well, I mean, you refer to it as Figment, so I'm just saying.
So Epcot that day was scheduled to be a 10 during plans, and it did not feel like a 10 at all.
I noticed that from your pictures. So
yeah. A lot of pictures.
It looks pretty empty.
Yeah, it did not feel busy at all. Now, again, Test Track still had a long wait. Of course, it always does. Frozen, we thought about doing it at one point, but it was still an hour, so I was like, And I think Ratatouille was around 90 minutes-ish, somewhere in there.
So the two attractions that go down the most had a long wait, go figure.
Yeah, big shock. But, so we didn't do any of those.
You do realize those go down more than Test Track right now.
Yeah, that's saying a lot.
I was shocked that there was nobody at the phone booth.
Yeah.
In the UK.
Yeah, there was 2 occasions where my kids went in the phone booth and just, because they thought that was cool. They never did that before, because it's usually like a ton of people over there taking pictures and doing stuff. And we had 2 opportunities where there was nobody there.
So. Right, there you go. So, do they ask what's a phone booth? Or have they ever asked what's a phone booth?
No, they weren't really sure. Yeah, they didn't.
It's like, why is this a thing?
Right, like, why is this not a phone with a screen on it? Yeah. Yeah, they don't know. They still thought it was cool, though. So we sampled some food on our way. This was probably around lunchtime. Then we made our way over to the Mexico Pavilion. And, of course, the rule, when you go to Mexico, once you get inside...
There's a cave.
Right. If the La Cava is a short line, you must go to La Cava. That's the rule. And there was nobody in line for La Cava. It was another thing. This was...
You got a table.
Right. This was very close to noon. It was 11:50 a.m. actually when I took the picture. And we walked up and the lady was like, do you want a table or do you want to go to the bar? And we were like, I was like, a table if it's available. And they're like, yeah, right here, right next to the door. I was like, what? This is amazing.
I've never seen this before.
Right. I was stunned. Yeah, it was amazing. And by the way, if you do get a table, if you're lucky enough to get a table at La Cava, order the queso. Queso was awesome there. Fantastic. Loved it. And of course, since I had the opportunity, I ordered the Lily, which is the most expensive drink on the menu and super elaborate. You know, they do the whole smoke machine.
Yeah.
It's elaborate. It's way overpriced, but it was a really good drink.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. When you showed me the video, I was like, wow, it was like a razzle-dazzle smoke and mirrors presentation, and then it's like, it's just a drink.
Right, right.
I was like, okay. After it's all said and done, they just take it out of the case, pretty much.
Right, they have it in this little glass case thing with a flower in there, and they do the pumped smoke into it, and then, it gets the attention of everybody in the restaurant, and it's kind of a cool little spectacle. So it's worth, once.
Kind of like Volcano.
Right. Sure, like that. Amazing drink, though. I would order it again because the drink was so good. However, $33 is a very steep price for a good drink. You know what I mean? It's not worth that at all. But it's still a fun drink if you want to splurge. It's a fun drink. And it was very good.
Or if you just want to see what it's like to drink a $33 drink.
Sure. Yeah, and until this one, the most expensive one I think I had ordered was the $25 Old Fashioned at the Enchanted Rose at Grand Floridian.
Right.
And so now this one topped that one. So, not that I'm wanting to continue down that road.
He's like, hey, give me the most expensive thing you got.
Exactly. Yeah, no. But when we left La Cava, there were 3 empty tables. And if you include ours, that was 4 empty tables. So we left La Cava. Let me see the time. It was 12:29 p.m. when we left La Cava. 4 empty tables, if you count ours. And it's like, there was just nobody. There was just nobody there. It was insane. And even, once the day dragged on, there was still low crowd just sort of walking around. It wasn't like massive crowds everywhere. There were a few spots, where bottlenecks, like always, like between Mexico and Norway, but it still wasn't, horrendous. So we explored some of the pavilions because the kids were doing the Easter egg hunt thing. I ended up having to look some of the hints up online because the kids get bored. They get tired of, looking, and they could be, right in front of their face and they wouldn't see it. And I'm like, hey, I see the egg. Where? It's, right over there. Where? I don't see it.
You're standing on it. No.
Right, exactly. And they're like, oh, I see. You have to put them right in front of it, and they're like, oh, there it is.
So, yeah,
it's fun though. It was a fun thing for them to do. So we ended up going to Club Cool as well. There was no line to get in or anything. I don't think that's a thing anymore, but it wasn't busy in Club Cool either. But the kids, of course, love the soda.
The I guess not newness, but renewness.
Yeah.
Has worn off.
It's a very shell of what it used to be. I mean, they only have 7 or 8, 6, whatever it is. 6 or 8 different sodas. And of course, one of them is the Beverly. So it's like, you're not going to ever drink that one because it's horrible. Unless you're just going with somebody who's never been and you're trying to trick them. But
you're a glutton for punishment.
Exactly. And then they have one that it's like, am I allowed to like the Russian Sprite anymore? Because the cucumber Sprite, honestly, is the best one. But it's like, ugh, am I allowed to like this still? Ugh, I don't know.
Well, sure you were, because it's a representation of the Russian people, not the Russian government.
There you go. Exactly.
See, I have an explanation.
Unless, there's like video of Putin drinking a cucumber Sprite or something. We saw the Connections Cafe building and all this stuff. They just haven't opened it yet, but looks just like the gift shop.
It's supposed to be soon, though, right? I mean, from what I understand.
Should be soon. Very soon. And there was one, I took a picture of the quote-unquote 30-minute wait at Spaceship Earth, which ended up taking 3 minutes to get on.
Yeah, it's like, I was thinking, did they accidentally put a 0 behind that? Yeah. It's supposed to have been said 3 minutes.
Well, I noticed that they were slow to take down the wait times once they deflated, because after we got off the ride, it said 5 minutes. I
think they dragged their feet on purpose.
Yeah, I think so. But we did Mission Space Green. It was 5 minutes as well. So we got our quota of rides in. Of course, we did Grand Fiesta Tour earlier on. Sampled a ton of food, plenty of drinks. It was good. It was a fun day at Epcot. And of course, the kids still wanted to go to Magic Kingdom. So even though we got back to the room at like 7, kids still wanted to go to Magic Kingdom. So we're like, okay.
Oh, wow.
We actually parked at Magic Kingdom parking lot, which I haven't done in forever. I think I've mentioned that.
And so you took which mode of transportation over?
Ferry boat. We did the Admiral Joe Fowler.
The Admiral Joe.
But we had preferred parked at Epcot, so we were like, well, it's good for the rest of the day. Let's just park at Magic Kingdom parking lot, but we'll do preferred. And even preferred at Magic Kingdom is just, it's not anywhere near as good as the other 3 parks when you're doing preferred. You're obviously way closer, but you don't need the trolley, but you're still walking a long way to get to the...
Is preferred really all that good at Epcot too?
It's better now. We parked really close at Epcot. Preferred.
I guess it probably depends on what time of day you get there too.
Yeah. They used to put you all the way on the left. Now they're putting you right in the middle, right underneath the monorail track. So you're like right there. That was where we parked.
I was trying to think. Whenever I was there in October, it seemed like I was close to the bus stops.
Oh, really? All the way?
Yeah.
Well, it helped that there was nobody there, too, in the morning. It was like we parked, close to the middle of the parking lot. So because it was, I don't know, a dozen cars in the preferred area by the time we got there. Maybe a couple dozen. I don't know. It was not many. So, we took the Admiral Joe Fowler over, which I do love the ferry boat. If you're trying to take a leisurely, scenic ride to Magic Kingdom, ferry boat, you can't beat the ferry boat. I got some really cool shots of the Contemporary while we were going by it at sunset. It was kind of a sunset pictures of Contemporary. It was really good lighting. Nice.
Well, I mean, both methods of transportation from TTC is they have their strong points.
Yeah. And so I asked the kids, because we still haven't officially seen Enchantment. I still haven't. Because I asked the kids, like, do we want to watch fireworks tonight? Because we got like an hour. Do you want to watch fireworks? Nope. They didn't care. Didn't want to watch them. They wanted to ride rides. So I'm like, all right.
Well, if I had to choose.
Right. But I still wanted to see it. Like, I still haven't seen the full show in person. I've seen parts of it from kind of a bad angle, but I still haven't seen the whole show.
Because me, I'm like, most nighttime shows are overrated, in my opinion, personally. Matter of fact, parades are most definitely overrated as far as I'm concerned. So,
I gotta say, I'll talk about the parade later, but my 4-year-old is still, he was like really blown away by the Festival's Fantasy Parade, and it was actually really cool to see, because it had been like he hadn't seen it because of the pandemic, and he didn't remember it, and so this is kind of like watching it for the first time.
Yeah, I imagine.
He was like, this is amazing. Yeah, it was awesome to see that. It was very cute. But what I will say is, if you wanted to ride rides, I mean, we're talking about low crowds again too. Magic Kingdom was busier than Epcot. It doesn't hold the crowds as well, or spread out the crowds as well, obviously. But we had a fairly short wait for Big Thunder. I think that's where we went first because of the, fireworks were getting, it was like 8:45-ish or whatever. And we almost timed it to where the fireworks would start on Big Thunder, but it didn't quite happen. I see my picture is 8:56 when we got on, so we missed it by a couple of minutes. The fireworks started as we were walking off Big Thunder, so we didn't quite make it. But the kids were still like wanting to ride rides, so they didn't want to do Splash Mountain this time. So the next closest thing would be Pirates. So we're like, all right, let's go do Pirates during the fireworks. It's fine. And we were the only people in line for Pirates. Like
the only people. Period?
Only people. Period. So we got our own boat. I have a picture of that. We were the only people in line for Pirates. There were some people that came in as our boat was taking off. I saw some people coming in, like trickling in the line. But they sent us on our own boat, which was awesome. I love the picture I have of just the four of us on our little boat. It's very cool.
So, just out of curiosity, because you were the only ones in the boat, did you have to sit in the middle, or was it? Did you get your own choice?
I think they
would recommend it.
Yeah, they told us row 3, so that's where they put us. So I was like, that's fine. I mean, I don't care. We have our own boat. It's fine. And I wonder if they do that as far as like weight distribution or something. I don't know.
Well, that's what I was getting at. I was like, did you have to sit there?
They told us row 3.
Like it'd be, yeah. Because I would think if there's going to be no one else in it, you don't want to be in the very back or the front because it'll be tilting one way or the other.
Right. Yeah. So I'm trying to think. After that, we may have done one or two. I think we went and did Barnstormer because they wanted to do Barnstormer. We may have done People. I think we did People Mover that night. I think we did Mine Train that night as well.
How long did you wait?
Was that the night? It was like, yeah, that was the night we did Mine Train. So we waited probably 30 minutes or so, somewhere in there. But, the park closed at 11, and we got off Mine Train at like 10:57. And so I was like, well, let's go over and do Pooh since we're already here. So we walked over, and Pooh was a walk-on. So we just got in line for Pooh.
Let's go Pooh before we leave.
Exactly. Let's go Pooh, and then we can go home for the night. No, but yeah, it was. So we did Pooh, and then we walked through the castle and enjoyed the walk out. We took the monorail back, and we got to see a Karen. My son mentioned this was the first time he actually saw a Karen in real life, because you always hear about in the news today about Karens. And so there was, so we were in the line for the resort monorail, and off to the side, there's this lady like berating a cast member about wearing masks on the monorail, which I think they just lifted that this week. But while we were there, we actually didn't bring our masks. We left them in the car because we thought we actually had them in our bag, but we had left them in the car. But the monorail cast members were, they handed us some of those disposable masks. And of course, we didn't complain about it.
Right.
But there was somebody off to the side, like screaming at a cast member about wearing one. And so.
Screaming about having to wear one?
Yes. Like top of her lungs, yelling. And so I felt for that, whoever that cast member was, I wish I could have seen like who it was and given them like a cast compliment for putting up with that. Whoever it was took an earful.
It's just ridiculous. Look, even if you don't want to wear one, if someone asks you to for a reason, I mean, just do it. I mean, why? Do it. Because doing that, what you just did, does nothing except make you look like a jerk.
Exactly.
That's all it does.
Yep. And so the cast members that were running the monorail were kind of steering everybody to the front half of the monorail while they dealt with her kind of off to the back end of the line, I mean,
it's not like they were asking her to give up her firstborn or
it's a
shoot
first world
someone.
problem here. And and as I've said, I think since then Disney has dropped that. I believe it's now optional from what I've heard. Right. But as of that day, it wasn't. And like I said, we didn't bring ours, but the cast member was like, hey, do you mind wearing these? And we're like, of course not. It's fine. Thank you for, because we were like thinking we had to go get on the ferry boat because we forgot our masks. But they just handed us some and we put them on and rode it over, went back to the car. So no big deal for us. But here's where I want to say I'm actually really proud of us as a family, and my wife in particular gets a huge shout out because we got back after it was around midnight by the time we got back to the hotel. We got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I bought Genie Plus, when we got back to the room. I pulled the Slinky Dog Dash for the morning. I got a 10:30, which is pretty good. We got to Hollywood Studios. It opened at 7:30 for resort guests. We tapped our magic bands. I looked at my phone. 7:30 on the dot. We got in.
Really?
7:30 on the dot, and that's like a record.
That's a record.
For us. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Right. Like that was a first, but it was, again, there were already people in the park. It was already, but we made it, and that's what counts. So we took advantage of it and went straight to Smuggler's Run. Smuggler's Run was maybe, I think it took us around 10 minutes. I think I messaged you that there was some slow people in front of us that sort of just very slowly walked through the line. And,
right. Yeah, of course.
And held us up. Otherwise, we would have gotten through that really quickly. And I told my wife while we were there, I was like, okay, we got to do Runaway Railway next because by the time we get there, the park will be open for everybody and it'll get a line. It's not necessarily going to be a long line, but it'll get a line. So if we want to walk on it right now, we should go do that next. So we did. We made the trek over. It was still a walk-on by the time we walked straight to the theater entrance.
Right.
For the pre-show. And by the time we got off Runaway Railway, the line was huge outside. And so she was like, okay. She understood why I was like, we gotta kind of have to rush. Because while we were walking briskly, she was like, okay, why do we have to walk so fast? I was like, well, because the park just opened and people are going to start flooding in. To get a short wait, literally 5 to 10 minutes difference makes a huge amount of difference.
Oh, it can, yeah.
Especially early in the day. So
I got to ask, what motivated you to do Smugglers first?
The fact that we had pulled Slinky and my kids did not want to do Rise of the Resistance. I was ready to buy it, but they didn't want to. So I was like, all right, it's fine. It saves me another $60. So if they don't want to ride it, I'm not going to buy it and force them to do it at this point, right?
That's interesting if they wouldn't want to.
Yeah, both of my boys don't like the drop, and I'm just like, the drop is nothing, guys. Like, this is like, the drop is barely more than a Star Tours kind of drop feeling, So I don't know.
Yeah.
And now that it costs money, I'm not going to, certainly
You're not going to argue.
I'm not going to wait 2 hours either.
Well, it's like, well, I'm going to buy it.
Anyway, I got some empty pictures of Galaxy's Edge because when we roped Smuggler's Run, there's several empty pictures I was able to get with no people in it, which is kind of cool. Got some pictures of my son in front of Millennium Falcon with nobody else around, which is pretty cool too. After Runaway Railway, you have that sort of lull where you're waiting for your Slinky Dog. I do have to say, when we went to Smuggler's Run, we took the Toy Story Land route, and it was very tempting to be like, let's just do Slinky Dog.
No.
Right, but then that kind of would have kept us from getting Runaway Railway in and all that. Yeah, so we stuck to the plan, and we did our Slinky Dog at 10:30 when our Fast Pass was there. And I will say, the Lightning Lane line was very long for Slinky Dog when we tapped in. It was all the way to the entrance of the Lightning Lane tap-in. We actually had to wait a minute for the line to start moving before they would let us in the Lightning Lane line.
Doesn't sound very much like lightning.
No. I think we probably waited about 15 minutes to get on Slinky. But I will say we had a 10:35 Lightning Lane and we got in at 10:30. So the 5 minutes early does work, and the 15 after does work too. So it's still a thing. But I think I pulled a Lightning Lane for Toy Story Mania And I got a story about that one too. The lightning lane for that one was long. It was super long. So yeah, Hollywood Studios, you have to have a lightning lane there because everything is busy, but it also sucks because
maybe it depends on time of day too, or when you actually tapped in. Maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe if you had waited and tapped in, because you have an hour window. Maybe if you had tapped closer to the middle of the window.
Possibly. Yeah, we were kind of in the earlier part of that one when we did. But we were probably 20 minutes in, I think, once we did Toy Story Mania. But I think we walked around. We walked around, did some gift shops. I was talking with my wife about, okay, baseline. Do we do the typical baseline tap house 10:30 rope drop, which is what we normally do, and then go to Slinky Dog, or do we do Slinky Dog and then come back or whatever? But then I mentioned wanting to try Brown Derby Lounge, and she was like, okay, that sounds interesting. We looked at the menu. She was like, oh, this looks good. So at 11 a.m., after we did Slinky Dog, we came over and did Brown Derby Lounge when it opened. And it's a first come, first serve lounge, but man, was it good.
Better than Tap House? Better than Baseline?
My wife would say yes. I mean, the charcuterie board is way better at there. The cocktails, I mean, Baseline only has 2 of those. So if you want a cocktail, there's way more options at Brown Derby. And I ordered their Manhattan, and that was really good. But she said one of the signatures, we had a great server, I should say, by the way, Danielle, her name was, gave her a cast compliment because she was awesome. And there was a grapefruit cake martini. And I was like, okay, it sounds kind of kitschy, but and she's like, I think, it's worth trying because it's a signature drink. So I was like, okay, let me try it. It was really good. I would go back and order that one first next time because it was really good. I don't love grapefruit, but it's not like super sour. It's kind of a sweet and sour combo. Really good. Highly recommend. And the food there, I think we had ordered several different appetizers, sort of basically was our lunch. I'll tell my story about Toy Story Mania, which was interesting because I mentioned the lightning lane was long. So we went from Brown Derby Lounge. My 4-year-old went to the bathroom like 3 times while we were at, because he's a 4-year-old. 3 times while we were at Brown Derby Lounge. And so he had just gone. So we're like, okay, let's do Toy Story Mania now. It's just right. It's not far. So we walked over, got in line, the lightning lane line, thinking, it's not going to take long. We get literally to the boarding. The guy was like telling us row 1, row 2, whatever. And my 4-year-old is like bursting at the seams. He's like, I gotta pee right now. He was jumping up and down. He's like, I can't do it, flipping out. And so I was just like, okay, I gotta have to take him out of line because there's nothing I can do. And so the guy was like, we don't normally do this, but I guess go ahead and get out of line. So he took us through the exit ramp, and I literally had to pick him up and run to the bathroom, which is not anywhere close, by the way, nowhere near. So I had to run all the way out the exit, all the way to the Toy Story Land bathrooms.
Yeah, that's the next closest one, isn't it?
Right. He barely made it. It worked though. Like, thank God he made it. And then we're like, okay, my wife and my other son decided to jump out of line too. So they didn't do the ride. So we're like, okay, I guess we'll just go back and just see if they'll let us back in again. And so we walked back over, explained to them what happened. They're like, okay, sure. But the lightning lane line was even longer this time than the first time. So we had to wait, and we probably waited a total of 30 minutes but we just happened to be in the lightning lane line twice for Toy Story Mania. So, yeah, I don't know what happened to his bladder that time, but he he couldn't make it. So
interesting. They at least were nice enough to let you go back through. So
yeah, thankfully they did. Yeah. So they let us back in. We tapped in, and they were like, okay, they saw that we had a lightning lane. And so like, okay, we'll just let you back in. Went to baseline after that and kind of relaxed. My 4-year-old went to sleep in the stroller. And then everyone kind of decided they were done with Hollywood Studios. So we somehow decided we would go to Animal Kingdom. It just sort of was like, let's go. So we hopped over to Animal Kingdom, and I pulled a safari lightning lane. Got in. We did the safari. Safari was really good, as always. I love the safari. I don't know why some people hate on it. Safari is great. It's worth doing every time for me. Because you see different things. Like, it's not always the same. It's a very different experience. Then we did Dinosaur Standby, which was about 25 minutes, somewhere in there. So not terrible. I was trying to pull a lightning lane for it. Nothing worked. Couldn't get anything. I tried to get Navi. I kept getting like a Navi at like 7 p.m. Couldn't get anything earlier. And then I showed you guys the app was totally wigged out on me. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
It was like logging in and out constantly. Face ID was
Gotta love it.
right. So it just completely spazzed out. I went and talked to guest services. I couldn't find a guest experience at Animal Kingdom, but on the way out, because at that point we were just like, they wanted to go back to Magic Kingdom because they were tired of Animal Kingdom already. But what ended up happening was I had pulled a dining reservation for Ohana, and so I was holding on to it. I really wanted to go because of what we had talked about earlier, Polynesian, my mom, our memories there. And at that point, after doing 2 parks, my wife was like, I think we should just sit down and have a meal and call it a day, because we had gone till 11, like midnight the night before, and got up at 6 a.m. We were all tired. So we're like, okay, let's just do a meal at Ohana. And I gotta say, I just love being at the Polynesian this time. It was just so nice. So to go back again, loved it. Just being on the grounds was fun. I will say though, the meal was a little below what I was hoping for. Like, it was good, but it wasn't like, the food was not like amazing. And they give you so much food. You can't eat it all. By the time you get to the appetizers, through the appetizers, you're tired of eating. And our server, he was super nice, but he was like incredibly slow. And I mean incredibly slow. So there were long periods of time where we didn't even see him. Other people would bring us food, but we, and then, oh, there he is. He's still on shift. So, but either way, it was still wonderful. I enjoyed it. I sort of soaked in the environment, the atmosphere, a lot of memories at Ohana. So a lot of things I was thinking through of the many character breakfasts we've had there over the years, many of the meals we've had. It was just fun to reflect a little bit, and I was enjoying that. After that, we just went back to the room, went to sleep, went to bed by like 10, I think, that night, maybe even before 10, because we were just exhausted from the kind of 2-day adventure we did. Got up a little bit later on Easter morning. It was Easter Sunday. Trying to park for my Steakhouse 71 breakfast, and let's just say we ended up eating there because I wasn't able to make any modifications to anything, so I'll just say it that way. So we actually ended up having breakfast at Steakhouse 71 instead of rope dropping Magic Kingdom, which, wanted to do because my son wanted to do Space Mountain. I thought about doing Lightning Lane again, or getting Genie Plus again, yeah. But it was like a half day, we were leaving to go home, so I was like, why buy it for a half day? So let's just rope drop and do the things that he wanted to do, and then we'll just watch the parade and go home. But we didn't make it, so we ended up having breakfast Steakhouse 71. But it was wonderful. Great breakfast, they have the bacon and eggs. I had some like lemon blueberry pancakes, and they were really good. We enjoyed it, and I love the atmosphere of Steakhouse 71, and I just love what they've done with contemporary like the lobby, and you've got all these old photographs of the early days of Walt Disney World and the construction of Contemporary, and you got Mary Blair and all the like features of, how she designed the Grand Canyon Concourse and all that stuff. So it's really cool. I love the Contemporary as well. I love hanging out there. So I want to go back and stay here. That's all I kept thinking. So it was nice.
Cool.
But Easter Sunday, we tried to do some Eastery things at Magic Kingdom and really didn't find much, to be honest. There was a few menu items at places that had some Easter things. The confectionery had a few like springtime things, so got a few treats for the kids like that, to kind of trying to commemorate the day, because it's the only time I'll probably ever go to Disney on Easter. Usually don't do that, so
right.
trying to do something different. But yeah, we did Space. So we got there like 9:15 or something after it opened, but we waited about 30. Actually, it was probably more like 40 minutes for Space Mountain. My oldest son and I, my youngest and my wife did Astro Orbiter because they love doing that one together. It's really cool. And so we did Space Mountain, which is the one he really wanted to do. So we did that, and we kind of just enjoyed the atmosphere for the rest of the day. Didn't ride a lot more. We did Pirates again, a couple other rides, not a lot. And then we watched the parade, and then the Easter Bunny and a couple other. They do like a little pre-parade parade with the Easter Bunny and like some other characters. So that was cool. Hadn't seen that before in person. And like I said, Festival of Fantasy started. We were at Liberty Square area. I had gotten Dole Whips and brought it over for them before the parade started. My 4-year-old really loved it. You kind of take those kind of things for granted, or that you're like, Festival of Fantasy again. But for him, it was the first time he had really seen it, where he'd remember it, and it was actually really cool to see him enjoy it so much.
Nice.
So, and then I think we did Big Thunder after that again, because they had, they love Big Thunder. We ate at Pecos Bill's because, that's what you have to do. We enjoy that.
I love Big Thunder. That's actually my favorite coaster over there now, over the years.
Yeah, mine too.
That, and, it's a fun coaster. If you ever need to get rid of a kidney stone, it's your go-to,
Right. So. Well, hopefully, I don't have to deal with that. But if I ever do, and I'm at Disney, I guess that's what I'll do. One other thing, too. On our way out, we got stuck in the parade again on our way out. So there's a noon parade, and then we did a few things, and we were trying to leave around 3, but the parade. So we watched some of Festival of Fantasy twice.
Okay.
But in the confectionery, I forgot that there's the vintage shop that's like a pop-up shop right now that next to the confectionery. The old, what was it? It used to be like the old theater, right? What was it? The old Main Street Theater, right? Where you could see the Mickey Mouse short.
The arcade? Or?
Maybe.
Oh, no. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right next to the confectionery.
Well, the place where you used to could see the Mickey Mouse shorts, I thought was over in that section, almost like close to Tony's.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Well, either way, it's the right next to the confectionery. So I bought one of those old vintage park maps that we used to have for the original, 1971 park map. They have like a big version of it that you can buy. And of course, I'm going to have that framed because I remember my brother growing up, he had that hanging on his wall. I don't know if you remember that, but you probably had one too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
From back in the day. Long since
Yeah, there
gone
was a
now.
time.
But so when
I
I saw
have
that,
no idea where it is now.
Right. But when I saw that, I was like, I gotta buy that because there's some nostalgia.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool little shop. I could have bought more stuff there, but I was like, well, I'll get this for now. And that was pretty much the trip. I mean, after that, we left. So all in all, like I said, good trip. It was meant for kind of relaxation and reflecting, not reflection, because that doesn't...
Reflections? No.
That doesn't work.
That doesn't exist.
Not anymore, yeah. But trying to reflect back, mission accomplished on that front. Even though we did kind of... the kids wanted to do a lot of rides. They always do. So we had to run around a little bit. But I still got my relaxation in between all that. And we hit up.
You had your fun.
Yeah, we hit up several lounges. So, yeah, mission accomplished. It was good.
Maybe we could wrap this up at the end by saying something along the lines of we did attempt, at least, to get the Guardians preview, right?
Yeah.
Unsuccessfully.
Right.
So.
And that happened right before I left. It was the same morning, right?
Yeah.
Right before I left.
Like that.
And so we pulled the link. I was busy that morning, so I didn't get the email in time. But the link was posted. We logged in at different times, and we got in, and there was really, well, by the time I got in, it took an hour or so, probably, by the time I got in.
Yeah.
And, there was just not much left. There was maybe one or two. And every time I tried to click a time, it would say, time's no longer available, time's no longer available, time's no longer available.
And you're like, what is this, Genie Plus? No.
Right, exactly. That's what it felt like. But I'm actually not 100% sure that I didn't get one, but I never got a confirmation email. But there was one where I just clicked on a time because everything said time is no longer available. So I finally clicked on one and it did the loading or whatever. But then it never told me one way or the other, I don't think. So, but I guess if I never got a confirmation email, I'm assuming that I didn't get it. So I guess it didn't work. So
this process to do this stuff nowadays is just so stupid.
Yeah. It
really is. I mean, it's like, okay, you got people that apparently are just like standing by, have apparently nothing better to do. I don't know what they do for a living.
I guess so, yeah.
For when this drops. And,
right.
I mean, because the email was out like 19 minutes, I think, or whatever it was, after the actual time they started really allowing you to do it. Right.
And some people get it earlier, some people get it later.
Yeah. And some people get the knowledge earlier.
Right.
About it. And then you're basically in a virtual queue the whole time.
Yep. Just waiting for it to move across the screen, and you finally get in. And the thing that frustrates me is on my phone, when you use the link, I have to log back in. It doesn't just log me in automatically like everything else I do where it saves my password. It's a unique link that I have to log back in manually. And, of course, those things take time versus,
What kind of killed me would be like you get down to like 17 and be like, oh no, 37.
Which was odd. Like
what?
Ratatouille was so much different. It just didn't, to me anyway. Maybe I got in earlier for Ratatouille than I did for Guardians, but
maybe I'll have better luck with a boarding group.
Yeah.
Because you know good and well they're going to have them to start with.
Right. Well, speaking of Genie Plus, I can really quickly try to summarize the frustration. Besides the crazy thing that happened with the app, I definitely didn't feel like I got my money's worth because I maybe did 4 rides with Lightning Lane that day. And we kind of cut our day off early, too. We could have done more, but we cut our day off because we were tired and didn't want to do any more. But 7 a.m., I was ready for Slinky Dog. I tapped, and of course it says, oh, there's an 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. You tap it, and it's like no longer available, or something went wrong, whatever. You hit refresh, you tap again, it's 9 to 10 or whatever, 9:30 to 10:30. You try it again, it's 9:45 to 10:45. It's like you keep clicking, and it says, oh, not available, and you just have to keep doing it over and over until finally it sticks. And it's like, I finally got it at 10:30, and it's like, this just doesn't work. Like, why doesn't it just work? Like, it just doesn't work like it should. It's just
wait until people stop buying it.
I wish people would stop buying it.
I think there'll be if stuff like this continues, there'll be a significant amount that'll say, why am I doing this?
Yeah, I hope so. But I don't have much hope for. I have a trip where I've 14 people where I've got to be the tour guide essentially, and I'm like, I do not feel good about having to use Genie Plus and spend. I mean, think about this: 14 people. That's like, was it like $400 a day, something like that? Just for that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's like at Hollywood Studios. I'm thinking that's $400, more than $400, to do that and Rise of the Resistance. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Anyway.
You know, though, when I got to looking across the board, I'm like, in general, even for some of the more popular ones, you're not going to wait more than roughly an hour, with the exception of Rise.
Right.
So I'm like, if I don't have to wait any longer than an hour, I may not even need to use Genie Plus, truthfully. I was like, I'm willing to wait. I mean, an hour to me, in this especially, is not completely unreasonable.
Yeah.
For certain things.
Yeah.
You know.
The frustration.
You know, I was thinking just the other day how it's kind of funny. Disney spends all this money to make the queues entertaining for the people that are waiting in line, and then they charge you a significant amount to skip all that if you so desire.
Yeah. But trying to get lightning lanes is like a huge pain. It's just not easy or fun or pulling fast passes. You had a much better chance of getting one, and you could grab one and then modify it. Tap, grab, modify. You still can't. Although I did see something on the app, and I never saw it again. But I saw, because the other thing was, when you have a lightning lane and you try to cancel it, it's like I can't figure out where to cancel it sometimes. It's so hard to like find when I book one. Like, how do I cancel? Sometimes you click on it, it doesn't give you the option to cancel it, and I close it out, go back in, or go in and try and find it through a different way. And it's like, how do I cancel this stupid thing? But I saw something. So
it's like trying to find the calendar for the Star Cruiser. Okay.
Yeah, probably. Right. But I saw, and I know I saw this, it said modify or cancel, or modify and cancel. There was something where I clicked on, and it said modify and cancel.
Modify?
The verbiage was there. It said modify and cancel, or modify or cancel, or something like that. And I couldn't find it again. I never saw it again. And it
was a tease.
But it wasn't like click here to modify. It was a screen that said modify or cancel.
But so you're thinking maybe they're working on it.
That's my thought, is I think they are going
or that's your hope.
But probably hope. But my hope is, yes, that they are slowly working to roll out a modify option, because that would improve things dramatically for me.
I mean, having a paid option, I get. Everybody knew that was coming. Why didn't they just keep the same system but then have an option to pay?
Yeah.
I mean, what was the point of redoing What was the point of totally reconfiguring the system itself?
And renaming it. Like, why do we have to rename it? Just bring FastPass back. FastPass Plus. Like, why do we have to rename it? It didn't make any sense. I
guess because everybody wants to leave their mark in some way, shape, or form.
It's got to be a JPEG thing, yeah.
Everybody wants to think they have to leave their mark, even if it's a skid mark. But everybody has to try and leave their mark.
Yeah, well, that's definitely the type of mark he's leaving.
So,
anyway, let's wrap it up here, I think.
Yeah.
And we'll,
So,
yeah.
So, hopefully next week we'll have some things to discuss.
Yeah.
When I was sitting here talking about queues, I was like, we did a best queues once before. Mm-hmm. Maybe we could revisit that a little bit.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah. What would be the best lightning lane queue?
I was going to say, maybe that's a category for March Madness. Maybe we should save it for next year.
Oh, best queue. Okay.
a queue, what is it? A queue division. I don't know.
A queue and
I'm going to say, because we know we had it divided up into the things.
Yeah.
That's why I said a queue division. That sounds like something from James Bond.
Right, queue division. Yeah. Yes, if you're Q, does that make him R?
And we'll have an R division. I don't know what that would be for. But
for rides.
All right.
Go ahead.
For rides. Okay. We've already done those. So, since we're wrapping this up, You can find us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That is all at TWTM Podcast. We have a Spreadshirt store, which we have exclusive TWTM merchandise. That is shop.spreadshirt.com/TWTM Podcasts. And we have had at least one video added to the YouTube channel. That one of the that short video of the construction of the Grand Floridian that we had. You can go find that. Just search for TWTM Podcast on YouTube.
That's right. And if you want to find links to that and more, you can go to our website, which is travelingwiththemouse.com. Our email address is podcast@travelingwiththemouse.com. And if you want any guidance in booking a Disney World, Disney cruise, Disneyland vacation, you can reach out to our travel agent friend. Her name is Jill Dilbeck, and her email address is jilldilbeck@gmail.com.
So for Adam, my name is John. This has been Traveling with the Mouse, and we hope you will join us on our next trip. Welcome.
You know what? I didn't do Haunted Mansion.
Come in.
I did not come in.
This whole trip you didn't do Haunted Mansion?
I did not.
Sinner.
My wife hates Haunted Mansion. I don't know why. She doesn't like it.
Why does she hate Haunted Mansion? That's
know.
like a classic.
She's like, it's one. Well, she also hates Country Road Jamboree. But, I know. But
how do you tolerate this?